Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
We find ourselves in a situation where, with our fingers crossed, we should be able to say, "Good morning, Lucky Starr."
What amazing technology we have these days.
Indeed. Well, you see, it's Neil here. The other voice you'll hear is Rob. Rob's working the phones, and Rob's a little bit old. He doesn't quite understand how some of this technology works. He has to put the 10 numbers into the phone consecutively in the right order, and that's tricky. Hey, thanks for joining us. This is a great thrill for us.
Oh, mate, it's my pleasure. We've it's great being on tour again with Mr. Rodney Vincent.
Now, rumour reaches us that, bearing in mind you're talking to two blokes in Geelong, that you were down this way during the week.
Yes, we were. And in fact, I'm back in Sydney now because I I didn't have to, but we had 3 days layoff in the middle of our little mini tour. So I flew back home again and got to attend to a few details up here. And then I'll go fly back down again on Monday.
Very nice to have you down here. Now, we'll obviously talk about the tour and the new album and stuff, but we are thrilled to have you on board for a couple of reasons. First of all, we have a segment every week called Regional Roundup, where we go somewhere in regional Australia and we talk to someone who lives there, and we've got a song that you might be familiar with called I've Been Everywhere that we use every week as our introduction. So the massive number of royalties that are rolling through the front door, that's ours.
I'm very familiar with the song.
Yeah. And the second thing that's a bit of a thrill for me, I know you think this bloke that I'm talking to sounds like he's only in his mid-30s. The day I was born in 1962, the song that was sitting at number one on the charts was by a bloke called Lucky Starr, and it was called I've Been Everywhere. You were the man who was my number one when I was born.
That's quite sobering.
We went to see the artist that Rob when Rob was born in the mid-1920s, and we haven't been able to find it. So where did it all start?
Al Jolson.
That's right. Where did it all start?
Rob, does he always give you a hard time like that?
Oh, I'm used to it. Lucky, it just keeps the show going. It keeps Neil entertained. I don't mind.
Where did all this start back in the olden days?
I missed the question.
Sorry, where did the Lucky Starr career start? Obviously, 1962 was when I've Been Everywhere Man happened, but clearly before that, you were performing and recording.
Oh yes, very much so. I started. I guess I started in about 1957. I won a talent quest. Me and my band won a talent quest at the Aloha Hotel here in Sydney, and. Back then, there were a lot of young bands around. Cole Joy and the Joy Boys, and Johnny O'Keefe and the RJs, and the DJs, beg your pardon, Digby Richards and the RJs. So there was a lot. That's all that we did, mate. It was just enter talent quests, and I won this particular one, and it got us a contract with Festival Records. I think that was the more or less the genesis of the whole thing for me and the band. Yeah.
Were you Lucky Starr in those days, or did that name change come later?
Yeah, no, I was Les Morrison then, and I decided that to get a bit of sort of notice, I should come up with a gimmick. So I built myself a star-shaped guitar, and called myself Les Starr, and all my signs were in the shape of the star, and that seemed to work for us back then. And then when we started winning talent quests regularly, everyone started calling me Lucky, and it stuck.
And your brother Ringo, he kicked in nicely with a band in the UK. No relation.
Wrong family.
Wrong part of the Starr family.
Different branch of the tree.
Yeah.
Lucky or Les, you'll obviously answer to both as as you've just explained. But at that particular stage, there was a bit of an upheaval in the music industry. The Beatles came a little bit later, but at that stage we had early doors of Elvis Presley, and the real rock and roll phenomenon had hit. Did your path into the music industry, did it come in on the back of that, and did your original stuff sort of copy what was around at the time?
Look, to be honest with you, I don't know how. I didn't have a path to follow. It just kind of happened. When we started off with a band, we were just a bunch of blokes having a bit of fun, getting together every Thursday night to try and learn a few new songs, and then go and see if we could get somebody to listen to them somewhere or other. It wasn't until we started putting our own dances on. People like Coljoy was already established here in Australia. Johnny O'Keefe, of course, had his own television show then. But we didn't. To be honest with you, it all just happened while we were having good fun.
And of course, then somewhere along the way, someone stuck a piece of sheet music in your hand and said, have a crack at this and see if you can come up with how to pronounce all of these town names around Australia. How did that happen?
Well, I was working, I started working doing clubs, and I was working a place. This was not with the band. I was at a little downstairs venue in King's Cross called the Afro-Cuban, and Jeff Mack was on the same show. And he used "I've Been Everywhere" as the opening song for his part of the show. And so I asked him, could I record the song, and he very graciously agreed to that. And because I already had a contract with the festival, I'd signed up by then, and he didn't. So I got to record the song, and then the rest is for me. That was the start of me being serious about being an entertainer, I suppose.
And 60 years later, it's been dragged down to the levels of being an introduction on the Two Blokes Chatting radio show in Geelong.
No, we reckon it's up. Hey, Lucky, first of all, thank you for putting our little village of Geelong in the song. I want to be a bit cheeky and suggest that when you recorded it, you probably hadn't been to every one of those locations, but have you gone through the music sheet and made it your life's ambition to get to every one of those places?
I've been to most of them except about 3 towns I haven't. And I must admit that on this current tour I'm on with Rodney, I'm hitting a few towns that I've never been to before. We were at the Mines Wandering. We were somewhere yesterday which I'd never been to before.
I'm going to suggest Horsham.
That's the place.
I wasn't in the audience, you understand, but I do have some notes in front of me.
Oh, good. I wish I did.
So I noticed upcoming, I did hear Ararat, Ballarat and Wagga Wagga, and you've got those in front of you coming up, and I reckon I heard those 3 in the song.
Yeah, they're in there. Yeah, actually, the second end of the tour sounds a bit like the song, doesn't it?
It does.
Wagga Wagga, the place that's so good you have to name it twice.
That's right. We're doing that one too. Yeah.
and so I was fortunate enough to interview Ross Ryan, he of I Am Pegasus fame, and I've had a chat with Russell Morris about the real thing. Yeah. Ross refers to I Am Pegasus as both his albatross and his foot in the door. How does I've Been Everywhere sit with you? Because presumably you can't get through any of these presentations without running through that. Yeah,
that's a pretty good description of. Particularly if you only have one hit record, and that's all I had, the one major hit. I had a couple of other starters, but I've Been Everywhere was the big one. And if people have in the audience haven't heard me sing before or seen me perform, they expect my show to be all novelty songs, I think. That's the only novelty song I sing. Oh, apart from, I do sing just a little bit of the song that I won the Talent Quest with back in 1957, that lovely love song that I sang, which was, I told the witch doctor I was in love with.
Boom, boom, boom.
Norman, who had that originally? I'm trying to think.
No, I don't know.
No,
Charlie Drake?
It could have been.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't Charlie Drake.
No, Nervous Norman or no? Oh, well, guess what my research is going to be this week, Lucky.
Yeah.
And so, presumably, you didn't just record that song in 1962 and say, "What, feet up? I'll now just relax and just do a few tours around the clubs and stuff."
No.
What happens after you have that kind of hit? Does it propel you into an ability to get into the clubs and so on?
When pretty much straight after I've Been Everywhere, after it became number one, we had a request from America to do an American version, which we did. Jeff wrote it and I recorded it. And a dear mate of mine at the time, Mr. Jimmy Rogers. Remember Jimmy Rogers?
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy and Billy Eckstein, a beautiful American jazz singer, said you should come to America and try your luck over there. So I went off to the States and I worked the Nevada circuit for 3 or 4 years, which was like Las Vegas, Reno, Lake Tahoe, and recorded with Dot Records over there for about 3 or 4 years, and that was very, very exciting, as you can imagine, going from the LOR Hotel to on stage at the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another first for this program today is I think we now have the first interview that we've done with anyone who's had a song covered by Johnny Cash.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
So this is a program of firsts this morning, Lucky. We're very, no pun intended, lucky to have you here.
Actually, Johnny Cash was, I think, the last singer to cover it, and then we lost him. So I hope there's not a bad portent to the song.
Lucky, you mentioned novelty songs, and I wondered whether you were tempted to go down that path, because around about the same time that you were doing your stuff, a gentleman by the name of Roger Miller was making a very good fist of that type of thing through America through the 60s and 70s. Did you ever toy with the idea of doing more novelty type songs?
Yes, you naturally try and follow up with the style of song that you just had a hit with, and Jeff Mack wrote a couple more songs. He wrote a thing called June in Junee for me. Gotta meet June in Junee, which was a cute little song, but it never took off. A thing called Hot Rod, also it just didn't have the same appeal as I've Been Everywhere. That was such an iconic song. It was I don't know. Somebody must have been smiling on me to allow me to record that, because I still get requests for it all the time.
Because I think the other thing too, that it wouldn't be very hard for us to sit down and compile a list of 100 songs that refer to towns in America. I can think of Glory, Glory, I'll Be Back to See the Story Bridge by Johnny Chester. Paul Kelly had From St Kilda to King's Cross. We don't have a lot of songs, do we, about Australian towns?
Unfortunately, we don't, and I think the reason that America has so many songs, including that include town names, is that their names seem to roll off the tongue better. How's all of it lubba 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 lubba, and they don't necessarily sound melodic.
Mm.
I think, although June in Junee I thought was pretty exciting.
Yeah, and I guess Lee Kernaghan with his Cunnamulla Fella, and there's a ripper that Slim Dusty did with Don Walker from Cold Chisel called Charleville. Are you familiar with that one?
I am, yeah. There are some great songs to do, and of course you can't call Wagga Wagga Wagga. That's
yeah, and I guess all of those have either got a novelty or a country and western kind of twang to them. Whereas a lot of the songs, that you can think of the US, even English towns, I guess, have got that sort of more seriousness about them.
Oh yeah, I love the Eagles as a band, and they've written some and recorded some beautiful songs, including American names, including town names.
Mm.
You can, if I was a little, actually I've only just woken up. Can you not tell?
I've had COVID for a week with it. They're all foggy brain is allowed here this morning.
It's good. Thank goodness for that. But yeah, it's a pity that we don't write more songs about town names in Australia. But the opening track on my new album is called Blueberry Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Got nothing to do with
Finding your thrill.
with Fats Domino. It's about my property. Now that's cheating, I suppose, to think that that's a town name, but that's what I call my property, and I think that's a pretty song.
I'm going to put my clairvoyance hat on and suggest that sometime between now and 10:30, the good folks listening to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show may become familiar with a song called Blueberry Hill.
Oh, good.
Because I went and bought the album yesterday online, and that's the song I've chosen to play.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you very much. Yeah. I think it's a great song. It does actually tell about my property pretty accurately, and it is the place that I love to be. I haven't quite made it back there yet. I'm at my sister's place, in fact, in Kingsgrove, and I'll head off back to my farm today. So
very nice indeed. Now, there's a couple of things we do need to talk to you before we do let you go, and one of those is that another person who presumably wasn't born Little Patty is someone who lives pretty close to you at the moment, and somehow you stumbled into one another and said, hey, let's make a record.
Well, we didn't stumble into it.
Oh, okay.
I know.
I got visions of the IGA, you're wandering down the frozen food aisle.
Yeah, no. No. I've known Patricia for many years. We have worked together. We did. Patty and I do a lot of work for the Vietnam vets together, and we also co-compared morning melody shows on the Central Coast for many years together, so when I come up with the idea of making this album and asked Noel to write the songs for it, Noel Quinlan is the songwriter producer. He said there's 3 songs here that could use a duet, a female voice as well. Have you got anybody in mind? And of course, I said, have I got anybody in mind? So I called Patricia, and she said she'd love to be involved. So Patricia Little Patty was a bit like what Ross Ryan said. She was also known for, well, here's my blonde-headed stumpy, won't be real gone surfer boy,
yep.
Which was a novelty song. But isn't it funny that all the novelty songs still seem to work? But she has a gorgeous voice, and she had never had the opportunity to, well, on record anyway. So it was a great opportunity for her.
Now, Lucky, I want to go down a slightly different path here, and I'll preface by saying this is not mean to be offensive, but you are on the wrong side of 80, and most of your best work was done in the 50s and 60s. So you have an audience from that era, and a lot of people from that era that are still alive do have issues with memory, but they're able to attach to things from their early years, and music has been proven to be one of the things that can revitalise the minds of our elderly citizens that perhaps are not quite as well attached to their mind as they have been. Do you feel with that you almost, not an obligation as such, but the work you're doing in still working yourself but making new music and having your name out there with the likes of Little Patty is really important to your original audience?
What did you say?
Oh, you got your own material too. Well done. You should get on the stage.
Yeah, look, I do. Most of the people who come to my shows, the majority of people would be from my genre, and they all come up after the show. Not all of them, but a lot of people come up after the show and say, there were some wonderful memories there. Thank you very much indeed. And I think it is important to just to bring those memories back to them, and you can see their faces light up when you sing songs like I Told the Witch Doctor and I've Been Everywhere. And most of my show is from that same era. the 50s, 60s era. But I do. I also like to advance in years with my music as well. So I do some other stuff, some newer songs. But they particularly love to hear songs like A White Sports Coat, which has great memories for them, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. That was a wonderful era of music and probably changed music. And that's why I go back to that original question about your influences. But you were probably just someone and with a group of people who weren't really influenced necessarily. As you said, you were just having fun at a time where the music industry was in this incredible upheaval.
I never ever thought that I could make a lifetime, a living, out of singing songs. Never for 1 second. And then I guess I've been everywhere. Made me see the light, as it were. But I never ever got into show business, or into song singing with the aim of it being my profession.
Okay, on the back of that statement, Lucky Starr, if that song hadn't been a success, what would Lucky Starr have done if it wasn't music? Oh, sorry, what would Les Morrison have done if not for music?
Les Morrison, yeah. Well, I started life as an apprentice electrician. That's where I met the first two members of my band. It was on the train travelling from Kingsgrove, where I lived, into town, into Sydney. I met Bruce Gurr and Tony Caporero, and they played piano and guitar, and they didn't have a singer, so they invited me to sing. So I may very well have finished my life as an electrician. I don't know. God only knows. I know people say, like, I know little Paddy wanted to become a doctor. I don't know if I ever wished to do that. And brain surgery, I don't know.
We wanted to be radio announcers, but it never quite happened. Now, breaking news, next Saturday morning in the 10:05 time slot that we reserve for very special people, we've got someone called Little Paddy we're having a chat to.
Oh, you'll love Paddy. She's absolutely gorgeous.
She is indeed, and of course there is a link via her cousin to this town, because of course Chrissy came from this town.
That's right, yes.
So no doubt that will come up. Now, we are thrilled that you are out and about doing some shows. This week coming up, you are going to be in Ararat on the 15th. Now, I've just got to slip my shoes and socks off and do some maths on that. That's about Wednesday, I think, at Ararat.
Yep.
That's a midday show. So, folks, if you're thinking, hey, I'd like to get along, but I don't really want to go out at night, particularly at this time of the year, you don't need to, because I'm assuming 12 p.m. is lunchtime, not midnight. Then the next day at 10:30 a.m. at the Victoria Bowling Club in Ballarat. That's on Thursday. I'll give you the tip, Lucky. I'd throw a coat in if I were you, and probably a beanie.
I've been down there, mate.
There is a nighttime show on Friday, the 17th, at 8:15 p.m. That's at the Golden Hills Motel in Bendigo. And then on Sunday at 2 p.m, you're at the Wagga Wagga RSL Club. So good you've got to name it twice. That'll get a good reception there. And then on Monday, we don't have a time, but it says the Canberra Labour Club. They'd be cock-a-hoop at the minute, the Labour Club in Canberra, wouldn't they?
Yeah. That's a morning show as well.
Oh, okay. According to my piece of paper, it says TBA. That's what's on your website. So, yeah. So that's the Labour Club in Canberra. Anthony Albanese is opening the show as the Labour leader in Canberra. So guaranteed to be a lot of fun. I suspect not only some great music, but lots of laughs as well, and just a really good way to spend some of your day.
Yeah, and just think about it. Ararat and Ballarat aren't that far away if you're in Geelong. Why don't you pack up the picnic basket and head up to either the Ararat Performing Arts Centre or the Victoria Bowling Club in Ballarat Wednesday and Thursday of next week, either one, morning show or a lunchtime show, and catch up with Les Morrison, a.k.a. Lucky Starr.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. Blokes, are you sure you're not being paid by somebody to promote my shows? You're doing a great job of it.
Thank you very much. We you know what it is, and we are being absolutely genuine in this. We've had a significant number of people who have made major major contributions to the Australian music industry from the era that you're talking through, about right through to the 80s and even more recently. We have been super fortunate on a couple of hacks down in Geelong having a bit of fun on a Saturday morning, but we genuinely do it, and we generally pump it up in response to the absolute pleasure that you guys have given us over the years, and it's just an absolute privilege and thrill.
Oh, look, what a lovely thing to say. Thank you so much. I've thoroughly enjoyed our chat this morning. I wish I'd been awake for a little bit longer.
Well, the good news is that we're recording this. We should have told you that at the start. We'll be sending you via Christine. We'll be sending you a link, and you can have a listen back and have another crack at it later.
That would be great.
Lucky Starr, it has been an absolute thrill to finally catch up with the man who was number one on the charts the day I was born. And thank you for lending us I've Been Everywhere to introduce our segment late in the program.
Well, look, it's been my pleasure, and I hope your listeners do enjoy that any tracks you play off the new album, because I'm extremely proud of having made another album that I'm happy with. And Patricia have a little patty on it as well. So I'd love to think that your listeners enjoy it as well.
Well, I'm sure you'll see a spike. Both of our listeners will be buying that album this afternoon, I have no doubt at all. Thanks for joining us on the Two Blokes Chatting radio show. It's been an absolute thrill.
Thank you so much indeed, blokes.
There he is, Lucky Starr, live on the phone from up in Sydney town.